There are films that entertain, films that inspire, and then there are films that change everything. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is one of those rare works that shaped cinema itself. With its twisted visuals and psychological depth, it feels as fresh and daring today as it did over 100 years ago. In this video, we'll explore why this silent masterpiece continues to captivate, looking at its history, its artistry, and the legacy it left behind. To understand the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, we must go back to where it all began. Post-World War I Germany. The country was in chaos. The Treaty of Versailles had left the country humiliated, and the fledgling Weimar Republic was struggling to hold itself together. It was a time of deep uncertainty and disillusionment, and you can feel all of that in the DNA of this film. The filmmakers were heavily influenced by German Expressionism, an art movement that thrived on distorted forms and raw emotion. It was a way of processing the unthinkable, war, loss, and a fractured society. Writers Han Janowitz and Karl Mayer, both veterans, poured their own war experiences into the script. They created a story that questioned authority and explored the nature of madness. Themes that resonated deeply in a nation recovering from trauma. Director Robert Wiene, along with designers Hermann Worm, Walter Reimann, and Walter Rohrig, took these ideas and turned them into something utterly unique. They crafted a world that looked as fractured as the emotions it was meant to evoke, a world of warped buildings, painted shadows, and impossible angles. Watching the film feels like stepping into someone's nightmare. What makes Caligari truly revolutionary isn't just its story or its visuals, it's how those two elements work together to create something more. The film doesn't just tell a story, it pulls you into the protagonist's fractured psyche. Every jagged set piece, every shadow feels like an extension of his mind. This is especially clear in the film's use of an unreliable narrator. The twist ending reveals that everything we've seen has been filtered through the delusions of Francis, a patient in an asylum. It's a bold move, especially in 1920, and it forces the audience to question everything they've seen. David Bordwell, a leading film scholar, calls this an early exploration of subjective storytelling. Today, we take that kind of storytelling for granted, but Caligari was one of the first films to do it. The film's visuals were just as groundbreaking. The use of light and shadow, known as chiaroscuro, wasn't just for atmosphere. It was a tool to heighten emotion and tension. This technique would go on to define entire genres, from film noir to horror. But beyond its visual and narrative innovations, Caligari also has a lot to say about the world it was made in. Dr. Caligari represents unchecked authority, while Cesare, the somnambulist, is an obedient tool of that authority. Siegfried Kracauer famously argued that this dynamic foreshadows the rise of fascism in Germany, making the film eerily prophetic. Orson Welles took inspiration from it for Citizen Kane. Alfred Hitchcock used similar techniques to create suspense in Psycho, and directors like Tim Burton have practically built their careers on its aesthetic, as seen in films like Batman and Edward Scissorhands. In the end, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is more than a film. It's a statement. It's a reminder of the power of art to reflect the world around us and to push boundaries. As critic Roger Ebert once said, "It is not just a silent film, but a silent scream." And that scream still echoes today.